Bonjour, teacher leaders, or bonsoir, depending on what time you're listening to me. The purpose of this recording is to prepare you for Class 3, where we will be presenting our progress on analyzing data as an action research team, framing the problem, reviewing the literature, and then analysis of data. So what we're going to be accomplishing over the next couple of weeks will be Section 2, framing the problem, Section 3, review of the literature, and Section 4, analysis of data. Let's take a look at the learning portal so you can become familiar with what I've posted up there. As you can see, there are a list of items that you should cover in your PowerPoint presentation. These items for the PowerPoint presentation follow along with another document that you see posted there, which is titled Writing Prompts for Class 3. So if we go over the writing prompts for Class 3, and I'll pull up that document now and you can follow along, might be useful if you also pull up this document from the learning portal, maybe even print it out, might be helpful. But if you don't have to waste paper, save a tree, just use the screen. Okay, let's take a look at the writing prompts. All right. So, Section 2, framing the problem. What we want to do here is, initially in your writing, is to give an introduction that tells the reader what they're going to read. So this is like a general introduction. It doesn't have to be really very long. So write an introduction that explains how you conducted a comprehensive analysis of the selected school level problem using, number 1, state and school archival data, 2, data from past research and literature that describes promising and effective practices, 3, focus group data. Now these are called stakeholder feedback or stakeholder-based perception data. So you're going to use 3 sources of data: school and state archival data, data from the research and the literature, and 3, your focus group data that you're going to be doing with your stakeholders. We're triangulating the problem here. We're coming at it from 3 different directions. What we're trying to achieve with this triangulation of 3 types of data is something called structural cooperation. Because if all 3 sources of data are saying the same thing, that's strength in a research proposal. Let's move on to framing the problem. In this part of your writing, you would put the title of your problem here. Describe the school setting. Where is the school district located? Where's your school located in context with your district? Describe the local community, the population's socioeconomic level. Are there any unique characteristics in your district or around your school, such as a large automobile plant or something of that nature that materially affects your students and your teaching? Now, what you want to do here is support your description of the school setting with relevant statistics. Now, your equity audit that you did back in January might be useful here. So you want to make sure that the school setting is clearly defined and discussed in terms of the local setting and the larger population or the current situation. Next, describe what prompted the investigation of your problem. This is what's called the rationale for tackling the issue. The rationale. The next part of your writing, discuss what might happen if the problem's not addressed. This part of your writing is the significance of the problem. And close out this section of the proposal with a 2 to 3 paragraph that briefly summarizes what you've written here in section 2. Use 2 or 3 sources from the literature that support your summary. Doesn't have to be long, but it has to be good. D'accord? Let's move on to section 3. Review of the literature that addresses the problem. Once again, start off with an introduction that justifies the investigation of the problem as a worthwhile scholarly endeavor. Provide a brief overview of the articles or books you have chosen for your action research team to use. Explain that these books are scholarly sources that are peer-reviewed, or in the case of a book, published by a reputable academic publishing house. Justify the reasons why you chose them and why they are presented in the review as a book or article summary. And why did you choose the sequence to present them in that way? Next, insert 6 to 8 articles or book summaries and title the beginning of these summaries with APA citations. Your Spalding and Falco Action Research book might be helpful here, page 50 and 52. So check that out on how to write a book summary. Page 50 talks about writing abstracts. Page 52 talks about how to do a summary. You might merge the two together, come up with your own idea, but basically what I'm looking for is how you're going to present this research to your action research team members to read. So you have to put the APA citation on the top and then write a summary of the relevant information. Don't use all bullet points. You have to write with the article. Use bullet points sparingly. Let's move on to section 4, analysis of data. Once again, introduce this section. Explain how you led your action research team through the analysis of the data process. You're telling your reader what they're going to read. State the times, dates of the meetings that you had with your action research team. Give a thorough discussion of how you led the analysis of the data process and how did you assign each member of your team specific roles in the process. Next, write a discussion that assesses the degree to which each member of your team accomplished their specific roles in the analysis of the data. Then move on to a discussion that assesses the degree to which each member of your team specifically accomplished their roles in the review of the literature. Present a discussion of the analysis of the data. What did you and your team discover in the data that confirms, modifies, or outright rejects the assumption of the problem? You may embed APA formatted and labeled charts when appropriate. So put a little chart in there that summarizes the data that you analyzed, maybe your local school district data, something from the state. If the data are too large, you want to put those data as an appendix. Now, don't put your raw data in an appendix. Don't even put it in your proposal. We don't need to see your raw data, such as like all the transcripts from your focus group or anything like that, or anything really, really monstrously long. Something 1 page, put it as an appendix. Something you can put as a clear, concise chart, maybe like 1/3 of a page, and with a nice chart, half page at the tops. You can embed that in the proposal. Make sure that your APA, using your APA to label those tables or figures, that's a chart or graph, and also if you're using it as an appendix, referring to data in the appendix, that you are using APA formatting to refer those your reader to those appendices. Now, next, present a discussion of the review of the literature. What did your research team make of that review of the literature? Remember back in section 3, you inserted 6 to 8 articles. Well, you gave those to your research team, and you talked about it with them, and you gave one person something to read, and you had a rationale for that, and you gave somebody else a couple of these summaries to read, and you stapled the actual article on there, so if they wanted to read the whole article, or you told them where to find the book. But essentially, you had a conversation. And so what did you and your team determine from the review of the literature? Did it confirm, did it modify or reject any initial assumptions that you had about the problem? And lastly, discuss how the analysis of data and review of the literature helped you formulate questions for your focus group questioning group. Now, you can find information. Remember your focus group book that we used last semester in 7090. You want to pull this out now, and you want to start, making some suggestions where these data are, affecting, influencing, what you're going to ask your focus group participants when you meet with them. Okay. So that's 12 minutes of good stuff. Hopefully you will be able to move along. Of course, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Au revoir.